Hi everyone, good morning. You may have noticed the title of today's devotional, The Comfort Gospel, and wondering what is going on now. Well, let me explain. In Acts 21, we read of how Paul and his companions start a journey to go back to Jerusalem. And on the way, they pass through Caesarea, and at Caesarea, they spend a few days, and a prophet named Agabus comes to see them. And essentially, Agabus says to Paul, you're in for a tough time if you continue on to Jerusalem. In fact, you're going to get imprisoned. And Paul's response is quite surprising because he says to Agabus and the others that are there with him, and they were desperately trying to convince him not to go to Jerusalem. He says, listen, I'm ready for whatever comes my way. But then the response of Agabus and the others to Paul's response is just as surprising because they say this, the Lord's will be done. And now they weren't being sarcastic. They had an understanding that sometimes doing God's will is not going to be all lattes and blueberry pancakes from Woolies. Sometimes there's some hardship involved. And at other times it's prolonged hardship. You know, nowhere in Scripture can we be tempted to think that God will intervene and remove us from tough times every time. In fact, in John 16:33, Jesus says, in this world you will have trouble. And in his letter to the church in Rome, Paul says in Romans 5 verse 3, we glory on our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. And again in Romans 12 verse 12, Paul says, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Another apostle, Peter, says in 1 Peter 4:12, dear friends, don't be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. What about the other apostle, James? James 1 verse 12. He says, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial. Now come on, who wants to suffer or be under trials or be afflicted or have drama in their life? Not me. But these verses are not saying, sorry for you, suck it up, buttercup. Not at all. That's not what they're saying. These verses are telling us that when we come under trials, hardship and affliction, God hasn't abandoned us. God hasn't stopped loving us, and he hasn't left us to our own devices. In fact, it's the opposite. In our drama, when the pawpaw hits the fan, God is right there with us. He's loving us, strengthening us, and giving us hope. Are you in that place this morning? Call out to God. Ask him to strengthen you, reveal his presence to you, and give you peace from anxiety in your troubling times. Amen.